and our listeners for sitting in with us on this evening. For the our grand opening. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to some of you and reintroduce to others my colleagues Richard Thompson and Yinka Magicadu.
Hi, welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys again.
Nice to see you.
I enjoyed season one. It was I learned as well as shared a lot of great information that I can take back to students. I'll give you a little background on myself. My name is they call me at University Professor Thompson, and I also in business had many hats, and from ownership to managing large organizations and helping customers. And I here to share my experience in working with businesses and helping them grow their customer base, their customer value. And in the end, I want businesses to succeed, and I want both viewers and students to understand what it takes to be successful.
Yinka, thank you for that, Mr. Thompson.
Welcome to season 2. My name is Yinka. I consider myself your friendly neighborhood CPA. I'm here to just offer my insights on everything finance and accounting, and then involved in business. It's going to be a great discussion. We have some interesting topics. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Let's jump in. I'm ready. Welcome back, fellas. This is season 2. I'm so excited. I know that outside of our opening, we've had some meetings, we've had some discussions, we've got a stellar breakdown of topics for this season. And without further ado, let's get into season to our first segment, decoding financial statements. All right. And so we talked about this, of course, targeting small businesses and startups, looking at financial statements, right? Looking at balance sheets. How is this applicable? How much should they know? How much should they not know, right? How hands-on, right? Do you need an account? Should we have a CPA, right? Should we not? So, let's jump in. So
absolutely. When I teach the students, because I teach entrepreneurial and small business, and I teach all these little numbers, right? I teach them about run rate, teach them about burn rate. I teach them about break-even analysis, cash flow, net profit, ROI, gross margin, gross profit. There's so many numbers.
Yeah.
But what I want to really know is what are the top 3 things we should focus on when you're starting a new business?
Mhm.
What are the top matrices that we use to make sure that a business is healthy? Matrices that owners and people should focus on to make their business a success, especially a startup business.
So that's really a good question. Now here's what I'm going to say as a business owner of the last 25 years. I don't know that there are just 3 in the top,
No,
particularly if you are the business yourself, right? If you're wearing all the hats. And so, but I get what you're saying, Everton. I totally understand. And so certainly capital, right? In terms of having enough money to open the doors and sustain yourself for a
In the
period
beginning.
in the beginning. Yeah. Startups, right?
Yep.
Certainly startups.
cash flow is
Cash flow.
extremely important
Absolutely.
because if they're going to burn through something, if businesses fail, they usually run out of cash first.
First 3 and within the first, well, if you make it beyond the first year, it said what the SBA has said between the first 3 and 5 years.
Mhm.
Most small businesses don't last beyond 5 years if they don't make it. So certainly cash flow. Yinka, what would you offer in terms of, what are some of the things? Because I started 25, 26 years ago. So, of course, times have changed. I started in my house, right? Sitting at a desk. So I needed nothing.
It's
So,
changed.
yeah, it's changed
Right.
quite a bit. Yeah.
So I'll tell you this: we're talking about startups or early stage businesses or new businesses
Yeah.
generally. I think it's the most important thing that I always say is cash flow is definitely important. So I'll do the sequencing. Your P&L.
Okay.
I think that is the beginning of you actually even understanding your business
Okay.
because you don't even know if your business is profitable on an ongoing basis. And then you might get surprised at the end when you run out of cash. You're like,
Mhm.
what's happening? Okay,
Mhm.
you never had any sales,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when you don't have sales, your cash flow is going to be lower. Now, the good thing about cash flow is that there's other things that bring in cash that's not sales. Like
Yeah.
debt,
Sure.
loans,
Sure.
and that's where your balance sheet comes into play. So if I was somebody coming in, and I always use this example, your P&L is like the doctor checking your temperature, making you do the breathing with the stethoscope and checking your ears. That's what the P&L does.
And the P&L is
Profit and
the
loss
profit
statement.
and loss statement.
Right.
Absolutely.
The balance sheet is the blood test.
Ah.
When doctor says, okay, we got to pull some blood now. Let's see what's going on with your complete blood
Oh, I
count.
like that.
That's what the
Okay.
balance sheet is doing because
Yeah.
you could have a profitable company
Uh-huh.
on your P&L, which
Uh-huh.
means your revenue versus expenses results in a profit,
Mhm.
but we don't know that you're healthy.
Mm.
We don't know that you're healthy
Healthy.
Healthy.
Okay.
because you could have a profit of $1 million,
Mhm.
right? But I did not know that part of your operation involved you having debt of $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if I look at your P&L, I'm gonna say, man, this is a great year for this company. They made $1 million. But the balance sheet tells me your history across time.
Absolutely.
P&L, profit and loss, is for periods.
Yes.
Balance sheet shows me
Yes.
your all-time health.
Yes.
So if
Absolutely.
you had a loan 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I'm going to tell it in the balance sheet because I'm going to see that.
That number.
That number
Absolutely.
in the balance sheet.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's the way I measure it. And to the point of Professor Thompson, is like the cash flow is important because that's what ends up keeping you in business or out of business, right? If you burn through cash quickly, you eventually run out of business.
Yeah.
You could get cash from financing, from loan, from equity, investors, whatever. But once that cash runs out, shop closes. So I say profit and loss statement,
Okay.
balance sheet, and
Okay.
cash flow.
And that's important to know because one of the things when people invest in the market,
Mhm.
when people decide that they're going to buy stocks in companies, there's a thing that we use in the financial industry called the name just went out of my head, but it's called the company's fundamentals.
Okay.
What are the fundamentals?
fundamentals.
So a lot of people just look, ooh, this is hot. This is a hot name, and I'm going to invest in it. Or this stock price is good. But what they have to look at is the fundamentals. So some of the fundamentals is what he's mentioned: balance sheet,
Good point.
cash flow,
Absolutely.
all these things. That's how people evaluate. Also, companies in terms of taking a look at the health of a company looks at the management team.
Absolutely.
That's part of
Yeah.
the fundamentals.
Yeah.
So it's financial and the management team work together in determining the strength of a company, the overall strength of a company most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, all right, I think that those are pillars, right? Pillars when you talk about startup and small businesses. Also, I think a good question is in starting up, right? We talk about the P&L,
Right.
profit and loss statements. We
Mhm.
talk about the balance sheet, and we talk about cash flow. At what point, right, between those three items, at what point do I say, yeah, let's keep going, or no? You know, that whole know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk, know when to run. So do I need to make a decision at some point as it relates to these three?
Well, I always thought in my mind that one of the key things to take a look at, and I always refer back to you, is doing a break-even analysis.
Uh-huh.
Have you
Okay.
broken?
Okay.
Have you broken even yet? And when did you do that? At what point do you do that? That there has to be a goal when you start a business. Where do you say go or no go? You have to know that number. You have to always know how much of this do I need to produce? How much revenue do I need to make based on my expenses? And what time does that happen? Does that take 3 years? Does that take 1 year? When does that happen? You have to have a sense of when your company breaks even. And I think that's a good
hear
thing.
you. Okay, I
Yeah.
hear you. And Jeff Bezos, right, who didn't break even or make a profit until 9 years in the game.
Yep.
So are you telling me that I can't be Jeff Bezos? Are you telling me I can't do what Jeff Bezos has done? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can't do that. Obviously, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that because he's successful. But I will say that there's certain things you need to watch. You need to understand. If you're not breaking even, you need to understand why and what's happening and where you need to pivot.
Okay.
See, a break even is just a flag. It doesn't tell you not to go. It's kind of like you when you're driving a car and all of a sudden there are no more stop signs and lights. That doesn't mean where you're going to is not there. You
Right.
can still keep going.
Yeah.
But it's telling you from now on, you got to you're not going to get any help.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got,
Yeah,
I like
exactly,
that, yeah.
exactly.
No stop signs, no
Yeah,
lights.
the stop sign.
Whoa.
Okay, what you gonna do now?
Oh God.
But
All
there's
right.
certain again, what we're trying to get here is things that people should take a look at
Sure.
Mhm.
and understand where it is.
Mhm.
Because we're fighting debt.
Yeah.
You can get so far in debt that it prevents you from pivoting. It prevents you from taking advantage of opportunities because now you're in debt. And the people that loaned you, unless you're coming out of your pocket, the people who loaned you the money, they at some point need their debt paid back and on time and on schedule, right? So when that's happening, you have to say, okay, I'm creating debt, but I'm not getting the revenue I want. What do we do? How do I get? All I'm saying is that's a point you should seek for. If it takes you 9 years, that's fine. That takes a lot of staying
Cash,
up late at
that's
night.
for sure.
You're staying
And-
up late
yeah.
at night.
Oh,
You're not sleeping at
Totally,
night.
totally. Yeah, totally. All right, got it. Like that. Let's hear. So the 3 or 4 ratio. So what are some of the ratios that these same small businesses or startups should be concerned about or aware of?
He just gave
What
you
are some
one.
of the which was
The break even is one of the ratios.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
Because
That's certainly
Well,
I
one
would
of the most
not-
critical.
not the most critical.
One of the most.
The most critical.
One of the most.
Okay,
It
one
depends
of
on
the-
who you ask.
Okay.
Right.
So for me, it would certainly be critical, right?
For sure.
For me, it would say so. And you said it's subjective, right? Depending upon
Yeah.
who you ask, what would be then some of the others?
Because break even involves or assumes the business is already generating revenue.
Yeah,
In a lot of cases, the startup may not even generate $1 for
Absolutely.
like 3 years. So
absolutely.
ain't no break even. It's like it's zero revenue and 500,000 in expenses over time. So there is no breaking even. So now what do you do? What do your investors want to know? We talked about it earlier. Your burn rate, which is cash
Yep.
flow and how cash is used across the business. And one of the things they normally will look at is your liquidity rate, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the things I kind of noted when I was thinking about one of the important ratios. Your liquidity rate that your assets and your liabilities at some point have a ratio where your business is not too risky, meaning you have enough assets to pay
Yeah.
off all your liabilities, right? And again, assets don't have to be cash, but one of the things a bankruptcy judge will look at in the event that we say, okay, we're not breaking even, we're going to close the business. They want to see your balance sheet. Do you have enough assets that we could sell to pay off your debtors?
Debt, yeah.
And hopefully maybe the rest, whatever's left, may get to your equity investors over
sure,
time. Because that's
sure.
how you funded your business in the beginning,
Sure.
is that you didn't have sales, so you had investors or you
Yeah.
had debt. So one of those two things are going to exist in your balance sheet. And over time, your liquidity ratio is going to be very, very important. Yeah.
Burn rate, liquidity rate,
Break even,
liquidity, break even. Yeah.
Right. Those are essential. And you like everything has a foundation, right? You start, we're just talking about the basics, the minimum you should be looking at in the beginning, the
As a
break even
beginner,
and the cash
yeah.
flow and everything.
Yeah.
And then at that point, now you can say, well, what is my ROI? Which is another fundamental, your return on your investments. Then you could start looking at your margins, because that's what's going to allow you gross margins, net income. Those things are profit margins. Those things, now you're working smart. So you go from a point, okay, let me see if this great idea that I have, this great product I have, let me see if it's going to work. And so in the beginning, you're like, okay, am I breaking even? Is my cash flow going? Do I have money at the end? Okay. But now you say, okay, it's worked, because there goes from a point where you are a startup company, and then you go to the next level, which you are basically a company that, what do we call it again when we were at Dose Labs? We called it
the startup.
No, the next level of startup. It was called it just came out of my head. But it's like when you're almost in the incubator phase, where you are
infancy.
It'll come to me in 3 seconds, you believe it or not. But you're at that phase. Now you're going to go to the next level. You want to make some more investments and decide where you want to go. And so you start looking at other things. So that's where the ROI, the gross margins, and net margins come in, because then you kind of say, all right, this is sustainable for 3 years, but now I want to get to 10. And those are the things that we need to look at.
That's a good point about profit margin. And I would say profit margin, to me, has always been useful for a small mom and pop store, to a startup, to a Fortune 500 company. Why am I saying this? Profit margin doesn't have to be at the company level as a whole. It could be at the division level, the product level. So as a company, if I start a roadside drinks company tomorrow, and the profit margin on my pineapple juice is 80%, and profit margin on my apple juice is upside down, that means I'm losing money for every apple juice I sell, and I'm making money on every pineapple juice I sell. At some point, I have to make a decision whether I should discontinue
apple juice
altogether, because it's just eating into my profit. And this is roadside, right? So just even that type of ratio on a product level for a mom and pop store is the same thing as Meta. When Meta had the idea of building that virtual reality world, and they invested money, it was discontinued this year. Right? They pulled the plug on it.
Know that VR.
Okay,
they're the Oculus and
exactly.
Oh wow, I didn't realize they pulled the plug.
So they looked at their business from a product. They said Instagram makes a lot of money. This one loses a lot of money, and it doesn't look like we're going to break even anytime soon. So we're going to discontinue this segment of the business and focus on our core business or new business. So that for me has always been one where, whether you're a small company or you're a Fortune 500 company, that break even, that margin is key. Your profit margin is key at the product.
So
what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Good. No, because I was going to say, good way for us to segue into how do you know when you are hustling backwards, or in more professional terms, red flags, right? Red flags that signal a company's in trouble. And again, at what point should I realize I'm hustling backwards? Pretty much is the question. And you've we kind of spoke to some of those things, right? Liquidity, right? Break even,
Mhm.
right? Margins.
Mhm.
Like when
Mhm.
those numbers or when those features, right,
Mhm.
are in the negative, or even if not in the negative, if you're not breaking even at some
Mhm.
point. Now, the whole not, breaking even thing, I use Amazon. I'm being facetious, but I'm not,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because look at them today.
Right. That's a good
And
example.
it would be easy to say, well, Doc, nobody's going to be an Amazon. Like that's freak of nature. No, 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 no. I think of Disney. I think of
Right.
Bill Gates. I think of a lot of these large companies and the owners, and I know their stories, right? Warren Buffett, I know the stories of they were small, one guy, maybe two guy, had no success. Success came on the brink of walking away.
Right. Right.
So you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
And it looked like it was over.
it looked like it was over. Walt Disney, it looked like it was
Yeah.
over. What's this? Walmart,
Mhm.
the consignment store,
Mhm.
right? It looked like it was
Mhm.
over. So when we talk about red flags, and at what point should I want to say it's subjective,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to say it's subjective. It's kind of like it's tough because it's like, no, be smart. This is what you see. This is what it's showing you. Walk away.
Yeah.
But
Those ones. So let me. I could give it a shot.
Okay.
When it comes to what we call hustling backwards, which is a business not being viable, hardly is the person inside the business or the founder aware of this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk from a perspective of somebody outside looking in.
Okay.
Because the person inside the ship is like, I love this. This is
Right.
my best
Right.
idea. It's gonna work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's always some delusion, and that's fine. You need that to even create a business, right? But from the outside looking in, if I looked at a business and it has multiple years of consistent net losses, and I look at the balance sheet, so I look at the profit and loss statement, I see consistent years of net losses. And then I look at the balance sheet and I see a huge debt that they owe to several banks, several debtors. And I look and I see a bunch of equity investors. And I see the cash and everything else at very low levels. That is a risky business. Risky business. Those are businesses that you might say, you know what? You should shut down, probably. 'Cause at this point, you just burn in investor money and you just get in debt. But you know what's funny about that recommendation? The example you made earlier is valid.
Yeah.
All it takes is for somebody to call you up one day and say, listen, I'll extend you this term of equity for $2 million. So one thing I know is that viable businesses, or the viability of businesses, is normally not predicated only on what you're seeing. If the person could get investment, they may survive, because we know today not all best ideas win the race.
Yeah.
You could have an incredible idea.
Yeah.
If you don't have any investor,
Yeah.
your idea
Yeah.
is
Absolutely.
dead on arrival.
Absolutely.
So from my
Absolutely.
perspective, I always try to look at it from the outside looking in, because the founders and the business owners mostly you have to be delusional. So they're never going to say, I need to shut down. But when a financial person is looking at the business, or an investor is looking at the business, they look at it different. Look at the financial, like, man, you lose money all 5 years you've been active. There is no projection. There is no break even point in the future that you guarantee me. And I see your balance sheet, you have a lot of debt. Either one thing's going to happen. Your debtors are going to come and try to take over the business, right? Or your equity investors are going to say, no mas, I'm not investing anymore. And then you're really done, because you have no sales. No sales, high debt, no investment.
Done. You're done. You said you're done. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And a business is what we're looking at today is financials.
Yeah.
Financials, the things that we think may be red flags. Okay. But by no means is those red flags the totality of a business.
Right.
A totality of a business has a lot to do with your customers. You might don't have customers today, but there are different customers on the arrival. You have to understand where the customers are going, where the trends in the marketplace are going. You have to understand the economics of the moment. You have to understand competitive advantages.
Mhm.
You have to understand government regulations.
Mhm.
Okay, political things. So by no means are we saying making a decision to go forward or not go forward is the only. What we're doing is at each level of a business. That's why you have a CFO.
Yeah.
That's why you have a CIO. That's why you have a CEO,
CTO,
marketing.
CEO,
All
yeah,
these people
yeah.
sit down in a room and they give what they're seeing.
Yes.
And so the CEO then sits and says, well, we're having trouble here, but I see this on the horizon. So the no-go and go on a business does not only have to do it with my best example I always give is that nobody even heard the name Zoom before
COVID. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I, as a technology person who spent a lot of time, I was selling or providing video conferencing 20 years before there was anything called Zoom. There are many companies out there. I don't even want to mention them.
Right.
But what happened was, right, just like things, is that all these companies that were doing video were focused on B2B.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
They never saw
Absolutely.
putting video from a business perspective
Yeah.
or education perspective in the hand of the consumer.
Yeah.
So Zoom was there. Zoom started
Yeah.
before that, but they had no traction. They had no customers.
Right.
They were struggling,
Right.
right? And all of a sudden,
Boom.
economic and conditionals made it there. So there is no shortage of lots of things you need to work with. That's why a great CEO has vision.
Mhm.
Right. So there's a vision that says, so he doesn't just rely on one thing. And so I just want to be clear. We're talking about the basics we need to look at from a financial
Yes.
standpoint.
Yes.
But by no means is go, no go, focused just on the financials.
Yes.
You have to
I
look
agree.
at everything.
Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
lightning strikes in the right place at the right time, Zoom will go boom.
It will. No. I have been in the business for a long. I've seen people that I'm telling you, we can go down the road of Blockbusters to
Yeah.
Blackberries, and we can keep going.
Yeah.
Where they had the marketplace, they had the cash flow, and unforeseen things happened in the economy. And the one thing I didn't even mention, technology.
Yeah.
Right?
Changes.
Technology comes up, and like some people are early adapters,
Yeah.
and then some people are scrambling.
Are absolutely.
And
later
the
down.
best example of that, and I have a million stories on companies and whatnot, is Bed Bath and Beyond.
Okay.
Okay, they're a company
Late
that
adapters.
they're the company that did not go online soon enough.
Mm.
They just did not take advantage of the online soon enough, and because of that, their customers got used to shopping there, going there, forming relationships there, and they still were depending on. Remember that mailing thing you used to get in the mail, the 20% off that came in the mail? They were still focused on mail.
Yeah. Well, so then you're talking the same then about like the circuit cities, right? There were a couple of others that I think fit that same scenario.
There are many
right?
of them. Many of them.
Many. You said BlackBerry. Oh my God, do I miss BlackBerry? I love BlackBerry. So my heart aches for a BlackBerry.
Right.
If it were,
Really? Oh,
yeah,
my
my heart
goodness.
aches for a Black. I swear to
Oh,
you.
my goodness.
But now I say that, right, in mentioning BlackBerry, they had no success, or they've actually kind of relinquished in the commercial or retail space,
Right.
because at the government level, they are still they actually are number one in government business, and from the standpoint of cellular or phone or
They're still selling.
yeah,
I heard they're making a comeback too.
they are making a killing. Even if they're not making a comeback, they are making a killing still. I think what you said though, Yinka, talking about, it's not all what you see, right? We're used to having a BlackBerry, holding a BlackBerry, so we assume that, they succumbed to,
Right, exactly.
well, to an extent they did. The
They pivoted.
retail side did, but they certainly did pivot. And instead of getting all of the pie that they used to have, they're only getting half.
Yeah.
In which,
They
50% of
discontinued-
something is better than
They
100% of.
discontinued a non-profitable segment.
Yeah.
based on the profit
Yes,
margin of the
yes,
segment.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Talk about ROI,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And talking about knowing when you're
When to-
hustling
when to
backwards.
discontinue- when to discontinue
Yeah.
a segment within your business or
Absolutely.
a product line within your business is
Absolutely.
important. But your
Yeah.
margins will tell you that story every time. This is why we're talking about margins are important. Your profit margin, understand your profit margin, important.
Yeah.
Your businesses are important,
Mhm.
and then you make decisions based on that. That's
Yeah,
Absolutely.
financial. IBM. They were known for their
Absolutely.
computers, right?
Right.
Everybody went to them for computers.
Right.
But they're still here, and they decided to go into the consulting. They decided to go
Servers.
into services
Server. They serve
and servers,
Mhm.
and they. So you have to be able to pivot. But the key point of what I was trying to make is that there's many things that go into determining the health of a business, and the financials are just one of them that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, wow. I said in opening that I hope that there's something that we can say that helps and educates our listeners and our viewers, as well as ourselves. And certainly we've educated me some, right? But certainly most people, I think, and I'll take this based on what the SBA has said, right? I'm a
Okay.
service disabled vet business, and so I take a lot of information. I get a lot of information through government type outlets because I'm always looking for opportunities there. And so according to the SBA has its own definition of a small business, right?
Mhm.
And believe it or not, I think it's what, some like 30 million revenue, less than 500 employees, not global, right? Kind of one location. And that's the SBA's version of a small business. We all know, however, here at home in the community, a small business looks, pretty much nothing like that. Yeah. But even with that being said, it's important to understand the fundamentals,
Right.
as you've pointed out,
Yeah.
and know what red flags are, know what you should be looking at in order to determine and track those red flags, understanding liquidity, burn rate, break even, those numbers and those statistics and that data that is key to your success, germane to your success.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Any want to throw anything else in there? We had 3 key topics, right? And we've covered those key topics. I think that if I know that we were live, and so
Right.
if we are live, then we're definitely able to answer a question or two.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we're not live, we'll get
That's-
you next week, and
that's
we can
right.
answer a question or two. Manuel,
Well,
are we live?
yes.
Okay, and so
One of the questions that I always talk with my students about, it's a good question for you, is that I always believe that networking brings opportunities, and opportunities could be comes to you in the way of capital. There's many different ways that you can start a business. You can start it with your own cash flow, borrowing money, your own credit. You can get investors. You can get partners. Or you can just gain new markets and everything like that. So in terms of actually deciding how you're going to fund your business, are there certain things that work better? I have my biases.
okay.
I have my biases. So I'll just say one because I'm gonna let you answer it.
Okay.
And this is I know everybody sounds good. Oh, I want an investor. I've been waiting for an investor.
Yeah.
What a lot of I tell students, what a lot of them don't understand, investors come with a cost. They want their money quickly, and they might not have patience for your ups and downs because they want their money. Because investors have to determine how best they get profits out of their money, out of the money they're lending. Investors make decisions, will help you make decisions, and they require a large amount of the profits. So although the word say, I want to invest, it sounds good, but is that what you would recommend? Are there better ways to fund your business that will make it last longer?
Level up,
investors?
allow you to level up.
Because investors
Okay.
sound right. They sound
Okay.
nice. So I got investors in my company, but it comes with a
Invest. It's just like we did for the financial statements, right? When it comes to funding your businesses, there are many, many ways.
Yeah.
But if I could just look through the Rolodex real quick, and I'm going to freestyle, the worst one that I see right now that's online is folks who encourage you to use credit card to start your business. Right? Those ones always automatically red flag, top of my list. Because when I tell somebody to fund your business, you need to apply for all these credit cards. and you look at the credit card's interest rate and is 28%, 27%. You know what that means? You have to make a profit margin higher than 27%
Mhm.
to be able to be profitable.
Sure.
Because your cost of capital is the interest rate you're going to pay on the credit card, assuming you don't pay it off. And most of the time, you can't pay it off because you're a new business.
Mhm.
So you see online, everywhere, social media, financial gurus everywhere saying these credit cards are good. If you do a 0% rate for 6 months, you're good.
Mhm.
But once that interest rate kicks in,
Mhm.
it could literally be the difference between your business going under
Wow.
versus your business continuing. So
Wow.
credit cards
Yeah.
for sure is probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the equity side, so you have other debts, like you get a loan, right? You get a loan,
SBA. Okay.
You get a rich uncle like Richard to loan you some money. He may be more flexible, right? So this is
Right,
debt.
yeah.
This is debt.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding.
Oh, crowdfunding. Also,
Okay.
the crowdfunding is more on the equity side, but I'm
Right.
just talking about debt for right now.
Okay.
Or you could get an extension of a loan from your supplier, your key supplier, your key
Mhm.
distributor could give you a loan.
Mhm.
Now, here's the problem with debt that nobody likes to talk about. Debtors are the first in line in liquidation action, which means if your business is struggling, the first that get paid is going to be your debtors.
Yeah.
For example, one of our favorite drinks, a very good founder created Uncle Nearest, the alcohol
Yes.
brand.
Oh,
Yep,
yes.
yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yes.
I know
Yes.
that.
Okay, Uncle Nearest
One of our
went through
favorite
bankruptcy,
drinks. You
right?
tell-
I have
Yeah.
them. Yep.
Why did they go through this process? A debtor initiated the liquidation action
Okay.
because they missed the
Okay.
payment.
Yeah.
So that comes to the terms and conditions of your debt. So you have a debtor who you don't realize they have a higher stake in the liquidation action, and they could enforce or start a liquidation action. So when you miss payments, they say, we're going to file because we're going to want to sell assets to get our
Yeah.
money back now.
Yeah.
And we want all our money. We don't want the payment that you missed. We want all our money. And if you're a business that you
Yeah.
don't have enough cash to pay that off, what happens is the business is liquidated, ownership is changed. So the business that you started in your kitchen, backyard, now is owned by somebody else. That's the
My
risk.
ancestors.
Yes, that's the risk of debt.
Sacks.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
And I'll close out with equity because all of them carry risk. So you just got to stack that. Equity, what happens with equity? Made a point. Depends on the type of investor you have. If it's my rich Uncle Richard, he might be patient with me. I give him 50% of the company to 30%, and he doesn't care. You know, he's rich, he doesn't care 10 years, 5 years. But if you have institutional investors,
Yeah.
right, investors who are maybe angels who want a better return in a short timeline,
Mhm.
they're going to be less patient.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, most of those investors come with some controlling interest
Uh-huh.
through voting rights.
Absolutely.
So I know this is not the episode to talk about that, but
Yeah. But
once
it feeds
investors-
into it. Yeah.
acquire enough voting rights, you could be removed as the CEO of your company that you started in
Yeah,
your kitchen.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing we don't talk about enough.
Absolutely.
We're like, oh, this founder
Yeah.
got fired. And you're thinking, hold up, if he started a company, how
How
could
did
he
he
be
get fired? Yeah. Yeah.
Because he had a lot of equity holders who were either discontent or unhappy with the way the business was running because they haven't seen any profit, or they want to even change the product line entirely. And guess what? They have enough votes to replace the CEO and chairman of the board.
Now let's preface that. Let's preface that with that happens to a company that typically a corporation
Mhm.
or an S corp or C corp,
Startups.
not typically an LLC. So unless
Yes.
you are an LLC under I guess under the
S-corp.
S corp.
Escort.
Yes.
Um,
But even LLC, you know, LLCs don't typically do equity, but they
right.
do debt.
They do that. Yeah.
So if you're
Yes,
an
yes,
LLC
yes.
and you owe me money and you miss payments, I could initiate liquidation action.
That is very true.
So
Gosh, that is very
Saks,
true.
Saks
Wow.
Fifth Avenue missed a $100. $100 was the payment.
are you serious?
Yep. And then the company went after them. That's yep. But that's a little bit deeper. But they were always the companies that acquired them. Saks, they're more a real estate company than they were
Mhm.
retail companies.
Retail.
So
Mhm.
they're looking at opportunities to liquidate.
Yeah.
So that was the difference. But still, all you do is miss a payment, and then
Yeah, debtors
come right forward.
have a lot
Big-
more power
Yeah,
than you could imagine.
And I've got to do a little more homework. Just side note, Uncle Nearest, I've got to follow up with that. But I think but it's still good that you brought that up and you're talking about that because we've talked, this segment was on decoding the financials, right? The
Mhm.
balance sheet,
Mhm.
the P&L. income statements,
Mhm.
yet debt is listed within all of those, right? Debt is associated with
Debt is the
each
common
of those.
denominator.
Yeah,
You
debt
owe
is
somebody something.
yeah, debt is the common denominator between all of those.
Mhm.
Wow, this has been phenomenal. It feels good being back at the table with you
Kickoff.
guys. Yeah, season 2 feels good
Yeah.
being
This is a
back
good
at the
kickoff.
table.
There are so many people now that are trying, the tradition that we had before where people would leave college or leave a university and they'll just go work for a company for many years and that was their life or retire and all that stuff. The young people nowadays have to think about, um, how do you start something of your own? They're looking at it more and more.
Mhm.
They're looking at, how I have a passion for something. I really like this. I have an amazing product. My customers are great. I always tell my students, you're in the business of acquiring and keeping customers and
Mhm.
keeping them with value.
Mhm.
So the more you acquire customers and the more you add value to them
Right.
and you keep your mind on the customers is great, but don't take your eyes off the financials.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, because all of them, everybody, I think it's amazing. I showed this video of a 15-year-old that was on Shark Tank, and how he started the amount of energy and positivity and everything that he had. This generation could start a business at any point,
Yeah,
at any time.
absolutely.
If they go to TikTok, if they go to Instagram, and they put what they love, what they like, and they get followers.
Mhm.
I don't know what the number is. I have to ask a young person. I think at 10,000 followers, they start getting money. Do you know the number?
I don't remember.
I think
the number,
it's like
but from
10,000.
Yeah.
viewership, yeah, I think access to customers have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
And
20 years ago, for you to have access to
Oh, God.
a million people
Yeah.
to just listen to your
Oh, my
product,
goodness.
Unheard of
you would have had
almost.
to
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
incredible amounts in newspaper
Yeah.
ads, TV ads.
Yes.
But now, because of social media, you could access a million customers
Right.
very easily.
And you
Right.
say
Or
young
easier.
people, they can start businesses. No, they are starting
they are. No,
businesses.
that's why I said. I
You
said
know,
one 15-year-old.
this whole influencer thing.
Oh, yes, it's big.
OMG.
Yeah,
OMG.
because advertisers aren't stupid, right? They can get like this, like you said, 1 million followers. So if you have an influencer that has 1 million followers, all my advertising dollars are going there.
Mhm.
I'm going to call them up. I'm going to spot. All of a sudden, it's funny seeing some of the influencers because they go from just doing whatever, and then halfway through their segment now, they're advertising something in there, right? That means they got a sponsor.
Yeah.
And people are naming it. So it is beautiful that they can start so early. And that's why it's so important, this conversation we're having, because you cannot avoid the financials. It's still the same. Whether or not you're starting at 14 or you're starting at 50, there are certain things you have to focus on to make sure that your business will sustain you until a certain point.
Yeah.
Right? There, you in the beginning, you could borrow money, you can get loans and all that good stuff and get started. But at some point, the business has to sustain itself. And I that's why I wanted to make sure that we covered the things that, you know what, pay attention to these things. Pay attention to cash flow. Pay attention to break even. Not telling you to do anything, but am I making a profit? Because what I found, even in social media, those people that are extremely successful in social media, they have a large team.
Oh, yeah.
They have 12, 15 people that are doing editing, that are posting. They have more than we have here. You know, some of these social media, well more. They have 15 people on staff researching, editing, and everything.
Producers,
those are all. There is one guy that's very popular on the. I don't want to blow up anybody, but his name is. I only follow him because he comes up on my feeds, but because he's doing 200 different segments a day, and his name is Country Wayne. Has he ever popped up? Yeah, Country Wayne.
Is that the comedian?
Yeah, he's a comedian, but what Country Wayne did was something so amazing. He saw, wow, I can make money providing content on here. And he has actors and actresses that are being paid well. Yes. He has probably have a staff of 100 of actors and actresses plus people. He is in himself an entrepreneur that is really, and he still does stand up and comedy. Yes. But he understood that, but he didn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't. The first thing is you do, like with anybody, you start at one segment or one store. And then you franchise and you franchise and you franchise and you franchise. So now revenue's coming from multiple streams. That is always a good way to grow, right? But the first thing is you have to lock in on what you do right, understand the fundamentals,
That niche, that
the
niche.
niche,
Yeah.
the niche and the fundamentals, and then you say, okay, I move forward when this happens. I move forward when this happens.
Mhm.
It has to be strategic and never be satisfied of where you're at. That's why another
Absolutely.
fundamental that people focus on after they they're doing well is, okay, my margin is 10%. How do I get it to 15%? How do I go to 20% and 30
That
and
could
40?
be, we'll talk more about that at another time. That could be a rabbit hole, that whole never be satisfied with where you are. I agree wholeheartedly, yet, while you can be the hero, you can also become a victim. Because at this point, I'm a victim of that, right? I feel like I'm a
Trying to
victim.
increase your profit margin could
Because
get you in trouble.
because now it's never enough. Another subject, another time.
Well, I can tell
But
you
yeah,
this.
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say those margins are what help you take advantage of opportunities because nothing is stagnant, right?
Yeah.
So now you're saying, I'm comfortable to the point where, okay, what else is going on? What else is happening? So that competition doesn't come in, because everybody here knows, and I'm sure the audience are familiar with SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. So
yeah.
yes, you're strong. You got gross margins. You're strong. This was, but their threats are out there.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity out there.
Yes.
So with gross margin, with profits, you can take advantage of opportunity and ward off your threats. Again, a business is not one singularity, like a great product or a great service or a great customer. It's everything in one, and you have to keep your eyes on that. And I think that makes businesses as strong. They don't take their eye off of all the things that are happening. They take advantage of things that happen. They got to continue to innovate,
make the right decisions. I think businesses now, most of businesses know you have to continue to innovate. You have to continue to watch the environment that you operate in. And
AI is just a whole nother animal in itself.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother segment that we'll do.
That's an environmental factor that changes dynamics of how you operate your business.
Absolutely.
And something I'll say to the profit margin, I'm not the biggest proponent of finding ways to increase your profit margin as a strategy all the time, depending on your business.
Okay.
Because what you will see is people, to increase profit margin, they will cut costs where the product quality suffers and you lose customers anyway.
Absolutely.
So now your profit margin is larger, but you have less sales.
Yes.
So now you got to balance those things. So last thing I'll close out with, that's kind of one of the important pillars, is the competency of the owner also matters in business success. It's not ownership or management team. It's not just the actual financials. Like sometimes you look at a business has been unprofitable for a long time. The product is decent, and then you ask yourself, why is this business not good? Until you speak to the owner, and you're like, oh, the owner is not competent. Like, the owner can't run this business.
Sure.
And that's why some business may not actually be successful, because
I'll give you a classic example of that. If you all remember Just for Feet.
Yes.
That's a classic example of what you described. So I did my dissertation on basically companies that cook the books. And so I had to go through the SEC, pull data from the SEC to look at who were companies that were barred, right, or banned from owning a business. Who were some of the individuals or companies that were banned from owning a company? But I choose Just for Feet because they were in the list. I looked at top 200. Just for Feet was one. Of course, the phone who was that?
I worked for Lucent Technologies.
They weren't on the list of the top 200 that had failed terms that failed. So these were businesses that failed, pretty much due to cooking the books. That was pretty much. And so Just for Feet though was one of those. It was profitable, right? Everyone was going. It was 2 for $50. 2 pair of Nikes. But you went and met with the CEO, and OMG, did you? Yeah, it just went downhill from him. Someone that had, I don't know where he got the vision from. I don't recall right now, but it was obvious after speaking to him that this was not the guy, the brains behind the operation.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious that this was not the brains behind the operation.
Yeah, there's been many studies done that sometimes a lot of business fail because of poor management and poor vision, and it happens quite a bit. I mentioned Lucent because we were the catalyst for Sarbanes-Oxley
Sarbanes-Oxley, the
we
Ohio
were the one because
senators.
because we started. Well, I shouldn't say we. I don't work.
I was gonna say, you said we.
I was not in a position.
How
of
affiliated
any power.
are you, or were you?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But they were allowed to recognize revenue when they felt like it,
Mhm.
and move money to offshore accounts and all kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened behind that.
Financial
Yes,
statements.
yeah, financial statements. You have to
Yeah.
pay attention, especially as an investor. That's why I'm never going to stop saying, as an investor, do take a look at the fundamentals. And there's certain things you need to watch in a company and how they work. And I said that the management team, Warren Buffett says all the time, he invests in companies with
I love
great
Warren Buffett.
management teams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yes,
so there's a
yes.
reason for that, because they keep their eye on the fundamentals.
And so when you talk about balance sheet, income statements, management teams, Sarbanes-Oxley and GAAP are originated from those kinds of scenarios. Poor leadership
Conversation.
management, poor but decisive, meaning they totally understood what they were doing. The
Right.
intent was to recognize revenue at this point, realizing that it had not come to fruition.
Exactly.
Yeah. So gentlemen, again, I'm elated to be back. I'm excited about season 2. This is episode 1 of season 2. We've got 9, 10 more to go. This was good. I hope that our viewers, our listeners, certainly that we were able to say something that you're able to take away and it helps you in your business. We want to be able to make a contribution, right? Bears and Bulls. I say to you all, my colleagues, all the time, I want us to be impactful. I want us to share, but I also want us to be picked up by a major network. But
This
in
is a
all
good start.
in all
Thank you.
seriousness, I'm excited. So closing words, right? We've touched on what we wanted to touch on. Next week we have another topic. I think we've got a guest in town. I won't ruin it. We'll have a guest in the room with us. I won't ruin it, but we've got some advertising that'll be going out regarding as it relates to our next episodes. And so viewers and listeners will be able to chime in. You'll have enough information beforehand. So
Beautiful.
gentlemen, you got any parting words?
Well, I definitely want to thank Atlantis University, not just for putting this on, but for introducing me to giving back. Like I said, I've been in business a long time, and I wanted the opportunity. Once I started having the opportunity to talk to the youth and talk to people that are younger and give them a heads up on what they might experience, it kept me current because I kept me understanding what they're going through, the markets they're doing. It's a lot different than when I first started. And I commend Atlantis University because they continue to go out and find talent, people that not just are lifelong educators, but people that have been in the field in whatever it is, and they can give back with firsthand information. And I think they should commend it for that. So I'm happy that we're here and we're doing this.
And trust me, Atlantis University appreciates you, Professor Thompson. You have made a difference and continue to make a difference, which is why we still call on you. Which is and
good idea.
Unbashful, right? I'm not bashful, right? Shameless plug, which is certainly why we count on you to show up for us. Yinka?
I'm happy to be on season 2. I'm happy to
Yeah,
be back.
season 2.
Looking forward to a lot more conversations.
Yeah.
Again, Yinka, your friendly neighborhood CPA.
I like that.
Lots of conversations to have. We have a great panelist here. We may have some special guests. Dr. Meyer, Richard, thank you so much. Happy to be back.
And please, audience, send your recommation, send your tips,
yes.
how we can make it better, some topics you want to hear about, some things you want to talk about. We're sitting here at the table, but you're sitting here at the table with us. And so because you're here at the table, we welcome your suggestions and we welcome your questions.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Bears and Bulls. Wow. And I'm the host. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Bears and Bulls. We acknowledge you, and we appreciate the opportunity to share our ideas and share information with you. Please don't hesitate to send us your ideas, send us your requests, and as we are live, we certainly look forward to being able to respond to you. Until then, I am your host, Dr. Maya Bird Stewart. Thank you again for tuning in to AU Studios, our parent host, Atlantis University. Thank you, and we'll see you on next week.
Thank you. I finally found where the camera was. It's right there.
You
I was
didn't
looking
know-
here. I was looking there. I was like, I'm so because
And I was gonna say, looking in your camera.
I forgot. She got the camera on. You don't have it on me.
Individual camera.
She has her own camera.
Right.
You have a camera because look
No,
at
I
you.
don't have a.
Next episode. Next
Got a
time,
veteran producer out there, man.
next time I'm doing an episode, I'm gonna talk like this. Hey, you know what?
Hold up.
I'm good. Next time.
I was trying to record. Hold up. Oh, yeah, there you go.
He did.